mode. I also go by the name of dimensional thought. And this is me tapping into different ways of seeing aspects of life, right? Because what really happens is in our lifetime, there's a lot of things that we have to be open up to, and it's just all about putting everything together, seeing the unseen, right? That's the aspect of it, right? Seeing the unseen. What do I mean by seeing the unseen? So let's say, for example, you have an idea in your mind, right? You having that idea, that specific idea, somebody else cannot see that idea, right? So that means it's unseen, right? But you can see it, but it's unseen to somebody else. So if we had to speak of reality within the spectrum of the sea, then what we all see is our reality, right? So our own perspective of what that reality is, right? So if you're thinking it, then it's happening up here. So that being the case, the only way for us to bring the reality of what we see here is by bringing it forward. Now, that's where the challenge lies, right? Because if we were all to really come up with our creative aspects of this reality to be able to help it the best way, we would probably find a way. But fear comes into it. There's energies that we can't even make sense out of. When you're actually afraid, you have fear. You actually have fear. When you're afraid, there's fear, but that's actually energy, right? Because emotion is nothing but energy in motion. So that is your emotion, right? As you're feeling that energy and as you're feeling that emotion, you feel what it is to have that chemical reaction reacting throughout your body, right? So as it's reacting throughout your body, what does that mean? You're having that experience. So as you're having that experience, that is the only thing that's happening within that current sense, which is the now. And the now is all the time, right? So there's a lot of things that come into it. There's so many layers, right? Now, the minute we admit that emotion is energy, we can be able to move forward, because then we'll be able to know what we feel when we're in certain situations or certain circumstances, right? Now, the power with that is it's within you, right? How you see it, how you make things happen, it's truly within you. And what happens is, speaking truth. What's up, Robert? How's it going? Yes. So looking into different mindsets and looking into different aspects of things, that's what brings things together, right? So when you have an idea, it's unseen. It's unseen. So it's about bringing your ideas to life so it can be seen, right? Now, to see the unseen, you have to go out of your way to create that form, right? You have to go out of your way to actually bring that to life and to manifest it into the physical form, or else it stays an idea, right? And the crazy thing is, the only thing that's promised is the aspect of you coming in this world and you leaving this world, right? You leaving doesn't mean that that's it, right? Doesn't mean that's it. Look, that's finished. It doesn't mean that, right? Just like water. When you drink water, it doesn't mean that it's gone, right? It's actually within you. And then you pour it out, right? And then boom, you flush it, right? And it just continues. It just goes. Just because it's out of your spectrum or your, concept of reality does not mean that it has passed away, like it's dead. That's it. Finito. It's just evolved into its next stage, right? So when you have an idea, it's about bringing it to life. And when you bring it to life, what happens is others can hold on to that idea, right? Because maybe for their time period, it was needed for them to be able to see that idea so they can be able to push on and move forward, because we're all just secretly working together. That's the thing. We're all secretly working together. Somebody that's gotten to this place has learned from this person or has learned from that person, but that person might have not directly had pushed it upon this specific person, but that specific person had been able to gain what this person was trying to push out within their life form, right? Within just normality and normal sense. So because this guy is now inspired by this person's actions or this person's aspect of life, now they're being able to move forward and bring a whole new perspective that this person had no idea even existed, right? It's all just a game of, guiding and helping each other. And that's the beauty of life, right? That's one of the beauties of life. Now, that's not really always being showcased because of what's going on. So seeing the unseen is bringing your thoughts into life. So what you know, I have no idea about, right? What you've experienced, I have no idea about until what? You present it, you bring it forward. When you bring it forward, I would then see the unseen, right? You see it. Just because you see it does not mean that it's seen, right? You're just one person. It's kind of like going on a video, or I don't even know, like going to see a movie. Like if you're the only one in that theater, then you're the only one seeing that until you push that on towards other people or how somebody else may be feeling, right? So it's all these different things. Now, the beauty about it and what I feel about 219 is it holds a certain energy. Now, with that energy it brings out the spectrum of what authenticity is, right? To be authentic. To be authentic is to be real and to let go within who you are in yourself, right? So as you are letting go and pushing out within everything that's happening, you also have to know that you are not out there, right? A version of you being so real to the extent of people seeing you in that light doesn't even exist in somebody else's mind, right? That could be if somebody's not seeing you in that light, right? So because of that, it may stop you because you don't have that example of yourself doing that sort of action, right? That's when somebody's trying to get into a new sport or a new sense of, a class or a new style or anything that's new, they may be afraid because they don't have a memory of seeing themselves, pursuing that action in the physical form, right? It's just in the mind. So that's where the power lies. That's where you actually understand it, but you could also feel paralyzed. It's very, very interesting. That rhymes. Power lies, paralyze, power lies, power lies. That's where the power lies. But you could also feel paralyzed. Very interesting. Yes, so you could also feel paralyzed. Now, to feel paralyzed is to not act upon your calling or to not act upon what you feel is natural for you, to not act upon it because of fear. So within everything that's happening, I'm tapping into it. I'm seeing what it has to offer and what it might mean to this world, But whoever that's meant to see this in a spectrum of whether it opens up their minds in a certain form, then that's the case, because this is going on all platforms, right? But I'm just going to be speaking about whatever that comes to my mind. And if it reaches somebody, then that's all that matters, because I continuously have ideas. So to bring the unseen to the scene, I like that. To bring the unseen to the scene is by letting others see what you see, right? So one thing I realized is in the spectrum of how I see reality is completely different to how somebody else may see reality. And the beauty about that is that we're all meant to learn from each other. So when you open up to see different possibilities, it's all about combining that together, right? So this is the side where it comes down to helping the aspects of how we are as humans and how we are as beings. So don't just think that you see everything just because we see the same thing. You know what I mean? That is a place that would take you under. You want to feel like you see what you see because of what you see, but there's a lot more that you don't see, and within time you will be able to see it, right? So just because you know that I got a hoodie on, Price, Joe Price, holla at Joe Price. You know what I mean? Joe Price, yeah, what's up, how you doing? So let's say, the clothing, right? Price. Just because you see that it's a hoodie and you're like, we see the same thing, doesn't mean that there's still a spectrum of life that's unseen. You know what I mean? And even though it can seem obvious, it can seem like, oh yeah, but that's how they trick us. That is literally how they trick us. They make sure that it's obvious enough for us not to look into it. If something is obvious, why would you look into it? You know what I mean? Like, it's so true. It's so true. If something is so obvious, why would you look into it? You might feel stupid or dumb for doing so, and nobody likes that feeling because that within itself is energy. It's actual energy that we feel. So I'm just trying to make you think. I'm just here to make you think. I'm here to make you think of life in a different spectrum. Let's not look at it in such a robotic way. There's so much universal aspect towards this spiritual, like this. It's basically 70 or 80% spiritual and 20% or 30% physical. So anything you do in this life is that small of a percentage, like 30 to 20%. But the 70 to 80%, that's all spiritual. You know how crazy that is? Like, you thinking is spiritual. Like, your thoughts are very spiritual. Why? Because you're actually within the realm of consciousness. So it's all static. Whatever it is that you think about combines with different thought process around, right? It's almost like the sky is like a brain. And whenever we think of it, it jumps into the sky. And now other people can be able to hold on to that thought and become within that synchronized motion. It's so crazy, but it all makes sense. Like, it all makes sense. It's so crazy, but it all makes sense. So question things. I once read knowledge isn't somebody who continuously think that they know everything, but somebody who truly questions what they think they know, right? Can I say knowledge? Intelligence. I read that once, and it really hit me because it's like, if you think that you know everything, then you're only intelligent for your own good. And that's cool because you live in your own world. But if your intelligence has the aspect of you opening up your mindset, you actually going out of your cave, going out of your spaceship, going out of your comfort zone, going out of your... So going out of your home, going out of your comfort, going out of your home, going out of your comfort zone, right? You'll be like, boom. You're like, oh, so I don't actually need, like, I can just live in the jungle? Like, that's a thing? I didn't even know that's a thing, bro. What you mean, live in the jungle? What? Live on that tree? What? You're changing your whole perspective of what you feel like you know because you're inheriting and taking in new information that makes sense towards the spectrum of life and so many different aspects of life. And that's what it's all about, right? It's all about us coming together and opening up our minds in so many different grids. And if we stand still, humanity will not move forward. And I'm not speaking in the spectrum of the commercialized aspect. I'm speaking within the spectrum of the secret war that we're going through. Okay, it's really happening. There's a secret war going on, but I'm just gonna be throwing that out as subliminal. You know what I mean? Because it can be too much for some people. So it's like I have to like slowly just throw out seed so you can be like so you can open your minds parts by parts. Having it all in one is too crazy. You know what I mean? Like if you had a pizza, right? See it, big pizza, and you have each slice is different types of the pizza. That's gonna drive you crazy. That's gonna drive you crazy. You might only like 2 of the slices, right? Let's say it's so big, you got like 16 slices, right? 16 slices, you're like, woo! I'm about to go in, right? You're looking at the pizza like, we about to have a good time. And let's say you don't like pineapples. And one of the pizza had pineapples, and you're like, I don't mess with that. And you just keep on going, you keep on finding different things. You're like, that was barbecue base, I don't mess with that. And you're just like, you know what I mean? Like, you need to be able to tap into one whole pizza first. You know what I mean? Have one adjustment. The farthest maybe you can go is half and half. You know what I mean? It's all just an example of life. Like, so after eating one pizza, then you can try the other pizza. And then once you've tried so many different categories and you've understood them all, then you can categorize them, right? And then once you find out there's actually 100 different types of pizzas, then you go, okay, I'm gonna just break it down to 16, right? Then you pick your 16th favorite because you've gone beyond 16 and you've continued on. I'm just trying to make you think of the same examples within different examples to create a whole example of, you know, the all example. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's our job. But that is what I wanted to speak about. For you to be able to see the unseen, you have to be able to go for it. You just have to bring it to life. You literally have to bring it to life. The fact that I can click my finger, you know, is an aspect of me like, whoa, I have power. Like, this is power, by the way. That's power, you know? But then if you look at it, there's a world or a reality where somebody can win like millions of pounds throughout the lottery. But that's not power, because you think you have power to win that much, but you don't. How many people have been, till this day, like religiously buying for lotteries and having won? How many? And how many have won? Right? So when you look at the statistics, it just doesn't really make sense. You're like, so you have the power to snap, like to turn off the light and to bring it back on, like voila, right? You have the power to do all that. But then there's a spectrum of reality where you kind of don't have the power, but the power is being thrown at you. It's kind of like, yes, you can win, you can do this. And then everybody that wins it, what do? They go to holiday. You can't use that to help the world in some way? Oh no, I'll go for a holiday. That's a waste of time. This is so crazy. Humans don't even fight for humans anymore. Okay, I take that back. Humans do fight for humans, but it's just not showcased to the way that it should be. Like, it's just crazy how the holiday spectrum is. It's like you get away, like you're getting away to come back to the same place anyway. You know, it's what happens, but everybody does it. So if you're one of the people to do it, you're gonna feel offended by this. And I don't mean to offend you. It's just I want you to think of what everybody's doing and why it's being done. Is it really a choice? Like, did you really choose that, or were you cornered into it? You know what I mean? Like,